Welcome to episode 39 of The Main Stand. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been saying it, I was saying it, and it finally happened. Talking point number one of today's episode: Erling Haaland has secured his move to Manchester City. I could not be happier. De Bruyne scored 4 goals and then did the Haaland celebration, and we have just added the best young forward in the world to our front three. No more missed open goals because we'll have this giant Norwegian fucker in our front line. Fellas, how do you feel about the move? Because everyone knows how I feel about the move.
Is there diminishing returns with a start like that? Meaning, like, you're adding him into already a superstar lineup? How much do you think he's actually going to improve you? Like, how many more points do you get next season with him?
I mean, I think a player of his caliber, those 0-0 draws don't happen because we're not hoofing crosses into the box to our 5'8" strikers. I think we beat Liverpool in those 2-2 draws with a player of his caliber. I think those narrow margined games that you saw City losing, we don't lose. I think we score all 6 goals we should have scored in the first leg against Madrid with a player of his caliber. I think he adds that clinical edge to the side and brings us up to that caliber of, like, maybe we'll win the Champions League. Probably not, but, maybe.
Yeah, it was a little bit more of a serious question to kind of start things out, but I think it's an important one because I think it's to play devil's advocate here. It's a lot like the Messi, Neymar, Mbappe kind of trio of, like, how much more could you add to this team to make them better? And given Man City are a better team than PSG, but I do think he will improve you. I do think you missed a striker, especially this year, but I do think it's fun to kind of to pick holes a little bit and, ask the question of how much do you really think this will improve Man City, because, for the past few years they've been winning multiple trophies a season regardless.
Agreed.
I feel like there's got to be a cap to it at some point. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, when you sign a striker like Haaland, who is coming into a side that's already fighting for most goals scored, or if not winning that title every year over the last 5 years, you're already having a lot of production. It's not like you're having a 40-goal swing come in. You're having a player that is able to maybe finish off a few more of the created chances, but I feel like it does get displaced over time. I feel like you're not having those, 4-goal games out of De Bruyne because you have a weapon the line ahead of him. You're not having as much production out of the wingers because it's getting more condensed. So it does shift how the final production comes at the end of the day. I don't think you bring him in and it adds 40 goals to the tally.
I think ultimately the last time we played with a striker, and which is why I think, Mitchell, you're just wrong saying it diminishes the return. The last time we played with a striker was with Aguero, Sané, and Sterling, and all of them hit for 20 a season every single year.
Right, but in the current where you're currently playing, other players have to. The way I'm seeing it is, you're saying other players are having to fill in this void that you so glaringly have. It's really obvious that Manchester City are really lacking something. So they need to go spend the money on Haaland and bring him in. That energy is going to get moved more further up the pitch than where it's at right now. I'm not saying you're going to be worse. I'm not saying, like, I do think Haaland comes in and brings the side to another level, but it changes who is making those finishing touches instead of how many finishing touches you're getting.
I think that's a good thing, though.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it just changes the shape. It changes how the system works. Is all I'm saying.
Can I add
And
a little
City
bit
have
of
a really good habit of having bad years with their first, like the first year of players there. It's not their best. It's
I
not.
think Holland's he's just different gravy, man. I
There's a
think he
lot
bangs
to
in
think about.
25.
He may bang in 25, but it's not taking you to like this precipice that's unreachable still.
I
He
get what
might.
Mitch is trying to say. It's a lot like Mo Salah scoring 40 goals his first year at Liverpool, and then Liverpool just getting better over those next 4 years, and his goal tally going down. It's not necessarily meaning that his talent level has gone down. It's just everyone around him has gotten better, and the goal tally stays relatively the same for the whole team.
Right. And I don't think that Holland is going to come in. So I guess I do agree with you there. I don't think he's going to come in and make City go from scoring 110 goals a season to scoring 150 goals a season. Right. You know what I mean? But I think what he brings to the side is what we have seriously lacked over the last 2 years, and that's that clinical edge in front of goals, scoring goals when they matter, and just putting away chances that are just on a plate. I don't think Haaland misses any of those chances, and I think a guy like De Bruyne with a guy like Haaland is just I can't wait to see that combination in action.
What's scary is his pace. Running through the middle of defenses is going to be terrifying. And I want you to walk us through the team now, Pat. In terms of like what the front three is going to look like, where Phil Foden moves. I know he hasn't played like that false nine role a ton lately because Jesus has been played rather a lot in recent games. But like, how do you see the top line shaping up for City next year most of the time?
I think our best front three with everyone fit is Foden as the left winger, Haaland through the middle, and this might be a hot take, but I think Sterling on the right.
Over Mahrez?
We've seen Sterling's best play come with an out-and-out number 9. We see how good he's been for England playing with a player like Kane, and Sterling's best years for City came playing with Aguero. So I think that if Sterling stays this summer, I think he does return to his best with Haaland through the middle. That being said, I think it's like Sterling or Mahrez on the right. I personally, one game this season, really want to see Foden, Haaland, and the other new forward we're bringing in, Julian Alvarez, on the right. I would love to see that front three at least once this coming season.
Yeah, that one's kind of gone under the radar a bit. I feel like since it happened in recent weeks, people kind of forgot about that one.
He's a very, very good player, too. So I'm really excited to see what he brings to the team. He's good, kind of plays like in a 2 at River Plate as like an inverted second striker. So that might give Pep some more tactical flexibility to play with 2 strikers, which could be cool.
Do you think Sterling stays in the summer? I know there was a lot of talk. We talked about it on the podcast about him maybe going to Newcastle or...
I think right now the rumor mill is Tottenham want him. He does not want Tottenham, but he admires Antonio Conte.
Where does he play in Tottenham's team? That makes no sense to me.
I see him staying. Personally, I see him staying. I think if any forwards are going to go this summer, it's unfortunately going to be Jesus. I think Jesus to Arsenal feels like a pretty much done deal. Around 50 million is the number I'm hearing that we're trying to get out of Arsenal, and he knows Arteta knows him, and I feel like Arsenal's financial package they're going to offer up to City, given especially if they make the Champions League, I think that they'll have the money to shell out for Jesus.
Which is a big question mark after that North London derby earlier today.
It's technically still in their hands, but yeah, I'm really excited to see Haaland, and it feels like the 17-18 window when we made, like, when Pep was like, I'm sick and tired of not having fullbacks, and then we signed fullbacks. Pep is like, I'm sick and tired of not having strikers, goes out and signs 2. I think City signed like a DM and a left back and then call it a day in the window.
Yep. What did you think about how the deal was structured? I know on kind of a flat surface it looks really nice because the fee is quite low in terms of the why am I completely blanking on the term? release clause.
Release clause. Well, we got it for less than his release clause too.
Exactly, but the deal is structured. There's what makes it expensive, what makes it so other teams couldn't have done that deal is wages, agent fees, stuff like that.
Exactly.
So what do you think about all that stuff?
I think it worked. It's still a pretty good deal if you look at the entire package for Haaland. We probably paid like 110 million, give or take. All of these reports you're seeing about him being on like 500K are just wrong. That's a fake number. He's on 375, same as De Bruyne, which I think the entire locker room is fine with, given what he is, the caliber of the transfer, and just the magnitude of player. I think if you see him on anything over 375, that is a falsified number. Maybe they're like adding it. He's got bonuses in his wages, as do like most top players when they move to clubs. Yeah. So maybe, any other numbers you see outside of the 375 a week is like, including all of his bonuses that he'll definitely hit, kind of thing. So I think it was a good deal, all things considered. I think Haaland is easily a $250 million player in the current market, and got him for like half of what he's worth. On paper, we got him for less than Fred.
250 is insane. 250 is a lot, but
that's what a player. He's around Mbappe caliber, is he not? And PSG wanted 200 million for Mbappe last summer.
Mbappe is probably going to leave on a free. I think that's what it looks like right now.
So I think we got a really good deal on Haaland, and he signed a 5-year contract with a 175 million pound release clause after the 3rd year. So.
Yeah, that's crazy. It is a little bit fun playing like the telephone game with how much players are on per week, because stuff gets so misconstrued when someone puts it in euros or someone puts it in American dollars. That runs through the internet, and then there's 3 different values people think a guy is on, per week.
And then the currency gets switched back to what it originally was after it's been changed, and it's a mess.
Being a City fan and knowing how City structure their wages and everything, hearing that he is on the same wages as De Bruyne is the only one that makes sense to me. So at 375 is what I'm pretty sure he's on.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but I think it's justified, all things considered.
Probably fair. We can stick with the transfer talk, at least for a little bit. I think we have one major possible move to talk about, and then after that, I think it's been pretty quiet aside from that. But across Manchester United, they're looking at Frenkie de Jong from Barcelona quite hard. Obviously, to match back up with Erik ten Hag, who's going to be the incoming manager. What are I know you're a big fan of him, Pat. So what do you think of that?
I rate him really highly. I was hoping City would scoop him as our Fernandinho replacement, with Fernandinho leaving this summer. But I think, ironically enough, we got priced out. United just gave Barca more money. So if he wants to sign with United and play with Ten Hag, I don't think that's a bad move for him. I think he walks into the side. I don't think there's a single player that plays his role in that Man United side that gets close to a half-informed Frenkie de Jong, let alone a playing well Frenkie de Jong. I rate him super highly. I think he fixes a lot of problems at Man United, and yeah, I mean, if he makes the move, I think it's a really good signing for Man United. It's definitely a statement of intent for the Ten Hag era, so to speak.
Yeah, I personally was really hoping like we'd start seeing Liverpool chase him a little bit more, just as some, just as another huge weapon in the midfield. As soon as we're kind of hitting that injury, I wouldn't say crisis yet, but with Fabinho out going into this last stretch of runs, which we'll get into, it's like we would love a player like that to be in the rotation for our midfield. And I think having Ten Hag coming to United and a potential reunion there, I think it's great for Frenkie. I think moving to the Premier League with a manager you're familiar with and into a side that really needs a new identity, it's a good place to be for a midfielder like him.
Probably can play right next to Donny van de Beek too if Ten Hag chooses to keep him. So reunited with his former midfield partner, that could be a potential resurgence of Donny van de Beek.
True. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
And to speak on your point too, Mitch, about kind of like Liverpool, their midfield hunt. We haven't really talked too much about Liverpool's kind of targets. We hear of this Calvin Ramsey kid who plays, I believe, right back for Aberdeen. But in the midfield, I think we heard some interest with Gavi from Barcelona, 17-year-old midfielder, very highly rated in that academy. So I think we're more on that level in terms of like how much we can spend on a transfer. We're going to be more in that younger market. The other name that we're hearing a lot of lately, and it's hard to really see how much speculation and how much is real, but Tchouameni from Monaco. I probably butchered that name, but he is class. That would be a great midfielder to bring in, especially considering we're going to lose either or both of Milner and Oxlade-Chamberlain this summer. We'll need to sign somebody to replace them.
Yeah, and well, I'm sure we'll break it down, but like, I think we've seen this season the name Curtis Jones kind of slipping out of the okay, we're gonna go with him. He started out very strong, very promising. Injuries, inconsistent play, and a rough go of it this past weekend. In my opinion, I think our midfield is strong, but with names kind of on the way out and bench spots clearing up, I think we do need to look at bringing in somebody to bolster that side of our team.
I would love to see him get a year-long loan, somewhere serious too, like a Premier League club. I know Villa was mentioned earlier in the year, somewhere where he can just go and play, 30 games. And then last piece of transfer news too. Speaking of Villa, signed Philippe Coutinho. Barcelona's loss on that ended up being, I think, $160 million, and he scored on them twice to get to the Champions League final with Bayern Munich. So, great deal for Barcelona on that one.
I have two things to say about that one. One, first, great signing for Villa. I think that's similar to what I said about if United land De Jong. I think Villa signing Coutinho is a statement of intent for next season. Absolutely. I think they will be gunning for that like top half of the top table. I think that their ownership believes in Steven Gerrard. They're giving him a player that Gerrard is familiar with, and he's clearly very talented. So I think it's a really good signing for them, and I think it's a good signing for Coutinho too. Second thing I want to say about that. Net loss of 160 million-ish, probably euros, right? Dollars, whatever.
Yeah, I forget the correct. Someone's gonna call me out on that because
it's like 100. It's right. Over 100 million. Some things, 100 million currencies. But City are ruining football.
That's a fair point, Pat. I do think Madrid and Barcelona. I've talked about it on the podcast. They are the two biggest vermin football clubs on the planet.
Don't even get me started on Barcelona clearly using Paulinho to launder money. That could do an episode on that.
Wouldn't Iniesta fall under that category too?
Nah, they bought Paulinho and then they sold him to China for more than they bought him for, and then they bought him back.
Oh yeah,
that whole thing. It was like they bought him for like 20 million. They sold him for like 65, and they bought him back. And he like wasn't playing for them when they like no. Paulinho was a money laundering scheme.